Marilyn Monroe was found dead in her bed on August 5th, 1962. She was 36, nude, face down, surrounded by empty pill bottles and mystery. The official cause? Overdose. Probable suicide. But here's the thing, Marilyn's story never fit neatly into a police report, and her death, that's where it gets really suspicious. Missing organs, no water glass by the pills, a funeral planned by her ex-husband who banned Hollywood's elite, a man buried above her, face down, on purpose, and another man buried beside her who plastered her nude body on a magazine cover without permission and still managed to spend eternity by her side. So if you're thinking that sounds less like a tragic death and more like the plot of a conspiracy thriller, you're not wrong. Now, before we really dig into the autopsy, the timeline, and all the theories that spiral out from it like red lipstick down a crime scene photo, I have someone I want you to meet. I've been teasing you with her. Don't eat that. No! This is Mango. Mango! Her name was Mango. She was a show pug. No, don't eat that. Shh. No, don't eat the mic. We talked about this. So she doesn't say much, but she's been here for the last few episodes and all of my mortuary meltdowns. And since she keeps trying to eat me or nap in front of my camera every time I'm filming something morbid, I figured it's only fair she gets her own segment. We're calling it Mango in the Morgue. You're welcome. Okay, thank you. You did great. Anyways, now it's blurry. Oh, there we go. Back to Marilyn. Oh, deep breaths. Seriousness. Today we're talking about the woman behind the myth, the tragedy behind the glamour, and the conspiracies that have refused to die for over 60 years. We'll walk through her rise to stardom, the final hours of her life, what the autopsy didn't show, and why the men around her still won't leave her alone, even in death. This is not just a celebrity deep dive. This is one of the most fascinating, heartbreaking, and shady deaths in Hollywood history. So let's dig into it. Before she was Marilyn, she was Norma Jean. Norma Jean is not my love. Anyways, she was born in 1926. She bounced between foster homes, group housing, and an orphanage. Her childhood was the definition of unstable. Her mother was institutionalized with paranoid schizophrenia, and her father was a mystery. He dipped out before the credits even rolled. She married young, like 16 years old young. She was a child, but she wanted to avoid going back into the system. And while most of us were trying to pass algebra, she was out here becoming a wartime factory worker, assembling parachutes and posing for morale-boosting pinup photos. It turns out the camera loved her. She went blonde, changed her name, and signed with 20th Century Fox in 1946. Norma Jean officially became Marilyn Monroe, a name chosen by a studio executive that sounded more marketable. Because apparently Norma Jean Mortensen wasn't sexy enough. Who knew? She was Hollywood's dream girl, the blueprint for the blonde bombshell. But underneath that image, severe stage fright, chronic insomnia, a dependency on pills to sleep, wake up, stay calm, and to perform. She wasn't just an actress. She was the image of Hollywood, and she used it. She formed her own production company, spoke out about abuse in the industry, and pushed back when directors tried to box her in. But the higher she rose, the harder she fell. Failed marriages, Joe DiMaggio, then Arthur Miller, miscarriages, depression. By the early 60s, she was more tabloid headline than leading lady. Pills, rehab. Oh my goodness, what are you barking for? Pills, rehab, scandal, repeat. And yet, she was still Marilyn. She was magic, and everyone wanted a— Hey, the story's getting good. Shh. She was magic, and everyone wanted a piece of her, even the White House. May 19th, 1962, Madison Square Garden, a birthday celebration for President John F. Kennedy, and guess who walks out in a skin-tight, rhinestone-covered dress so tight she had to be sewn into it? Marilyn freaking Monroe. She sings "Happy birthday, Mr. President," in this breathy, sultry voice that basically stripped the Constitution down on live TV. The room went dead silent. Jackie Kennedy skipped the event. I can't imagine why. Let's not play dumb here. Marilyn didn't get invited to sing that song because she was buddy-buddy with the president. She was sleeping with him. Probably both him and Bobby. She reportedly started telling people she was going to go public, expose the affairs, maybe even write a tell-all. She had a red diary she called her insurance policy. And if that doesn't scream, "I'm about to mysteriously die," I don't know what does. But by the summer of 1962, JFK had stopped returning her calls. And just like that, Marilyn Monroe went from presidential mistress to political liability. And just a few months later, she was dead. Weird. There's just no coincidences in life ever. August 4th, 1962, Brentwood, Los Angeles. Marilyn's at home in the Spanish-style bungalow she had just bought, her first real home, her own, her safe place. She never got to fully live in it. Her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, was staying overnight. So was her psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson, which kind of weird to have your psychiatrist spend the night at your house. But according to Murray, Marilyn went to bed around 8 p.m. and shut the door. But Murray's story changes more than a studio exec's mood. That night, Marilyn spoke on the phone with Peter Lawford, JFK's brother-in-law. She sounded slurred and strange. She also called her stepson and publicist, sounding a little bit more upbeat. Peter Lawford later claimed he got worried and tried to check on her, but someone told him not to go. And then silence. Around 3 a.m., Murray says she saw light under Marilyn's door, but couldn't wake her. Instead of calling the police, she called Dr. Greenson. Greenson arrived, broke in through a window, and found Marilyn face down, nude, and dead, clutching a phone. He called another doctor, Dr. Engelberg. They waited nearly an hour to call the police. When authorities arrived around 4:30 a.m., they found empty pill bottles, but no water glass. No suicide note. The room had been cleaned. The bed looked made. Her body may have even been washed. And Murray later told the BBC she was told to keep quiet. Nothing about this looks like an overdose. It looks like a cover-up. So Marilyn Monroe is declared dead. Official cause of death, acute barbiturate poisoning, aka sleeping pills. Manner of death, probable suicide. That word, probable, has haunted this case for 60 years. The autopsy was performed by Dr. Thomas Noguchi, the so-called corner to the stars. And to be fair, Noguchi later said even he had doubts about what really happened. So let's break down what they found and what they didn't. Her body showed massive levels of Nembutal, a barbiturate. Her liver showed chloral hydrate, another sedative, but her stomach was completely empty. No pills, no residue, nothing. And here's the thing, if Marilyn had taken that many pills orally, some of them should have still been in her stomach. There should have been undissolved capsules, or at the very least something, but there wasn't. So the theory? She may have been administered the drugs rectally, either by enema or suppository, which would bypass the stomach entirely and hit her bloodstream faster. Now, would Marilyn have done that to herself? I mean, maybe, but combined with the shady timeline and cleaned up scene, it starts looking a lot less like suicide and a lot more like a medical cover-up. Half the time I am having a glass of wine because it just makes it more fun. Okay. But it gets worse. When they tried to run further tests, they realized her stomach, intestines, and other key organs were gone. Poof! Gone. Like literally not preserved. And if you've ever worked with pathologists like I have, this is not standard procedure. They claimed the organs were too deteriorated to be tested. But how does someone who died less than 12 hours ago have organs that are unusable for an autopsy? And the samples that were taken? Conveniently conveniently lost, because that's not weird or anything. They're just gone. Now here's where things take a much darker turn. There's a theory that Marilyn's body actually went missing on the way to the morgue. Some reports say it was diverted before it reached the coroner's office. Others say it arrived late, with visible signs that something had happened in the interim. And here's the most disturbing part of that theory. Some former mortuary staff and journalists have claimed that Marilyn may have been sexually schmalted post-mortem, and that trauma to her lower body was covered up or never officially documented. So let me be clear, there is no conclusive evidence to confirm that, but between the delayed autopsy, missing organs, and rumors of the body being intercepted, the gap is there. And people filled it in with the darkest possibility. It's not just that Marilyn's death might have been staged, it's that her body might have been violated too. And honestly, when you look at the way she was treated in life, used, silenced, abused, the idea that someone would exploit her one last time in death, as a mortician, I hate how plausible that actually feels. So let's talk about this conspiracy web. There's the Kennedys. She had affairs with JFK and Bobby. She threatened to go public. Talks of a press conference. The red diary filled with government pillow talk. Bobby Kennedy was allegedly at her house the day she died. Some say he left with the diary. Some say he left before the doctors arrived. Some say he never left at all. Then there's a conspiracy with the mob. Enter Sam Giancana, mob boss, alleged Marilyn contact connected to the Kennedys. Was Marilyn being used to blackmail them? Did she know too much? The mob was more than capable of sending a message and cleaning it up. Then there's the CIA, the FBI. The FBI had a thick file on her, and the CIA allegedly flagged her as a national security risk. Marilyn frickin' Monroe, a national security risk. What did they tell her during that pillow talk? She was emotionally unstable, sleeping with high-level officials, and talking to leftist thinkers. She was seen as dangerous. Then the doctor conspiracy. Dr. Greenson, Dr. Engelberg, Eunice Murray. They all had access, they all had motive, and they all had time. If she overdosed accidentally or was given something intentionally, they had time to stage it. There's so many theories. But let's talk about the funeral and the men who claimed her in death. Joe DiMaggio arranged the funeral. There was only 30 guests, no Hollywood elite allowed, no Kennedy circle, no fake mourners. She wore her favorite green Pucci dress, styled hair, and was placed in a bronze casket with a champagne satin lining. Ask me how I know. I love these funeral facts. Joe DiMaggio had roses delivered 3 times a week for 20 years. He never remarried, and he said, "I'll go to my grave knowing I did everything I could to protect her, because there was no one else." She had no siblings, no parents, no other partner. DiMaggio was her only next of kin. Then did you hear about the creep that got buried above her at the cemetery? Richard Poncher bought the crypt above Marilyn for $75,000 in the 1950s. That's about $750,000 today. On his deathbed, he told his wife, "Bury me face down over Marilyn," and she did it. Later, she tried to sell the spot, sell the plot, and it hit $4.6 million on eBay before the buyer backed out. That whole story just gives me the creeps. What kind of wife was like, "Yeah, honey, I'll do that for you"? Then there's the creep buried beside her. Hugh Hefner bought the crypt beside her for $75,000 in the 90s. He never met her. He exploited her without consent. He made millions off of her first Playboy cover, and now, in death, he's next to her forever. Marilyn Monroe didn't die because she was weak. She died because she was used, over-medicated, and ultimately discarded by a system that profited off of her image but never cared about her well-being. Even in death, she couldn't escape exploitation. Kisses on her crypt, creeps in the walls, her legacy auctioned off like merchandise. But she also couldn't be erased. She was smart, powerful, complicated. She wanted to be taken seriously, she wanted to be free, and she wanted to be heard. And now, she is. I wish I had more answers for you about this whole Marilyn Monroe, and I wish that they would exhume her body and do a secondary autopsy. I looked up the coroner who actually did her autopsy and found out he's still alive. He did a lot of famous autopsies, and I think I might make a whole separate video just for that because it's very interesting. To be called the coroner of the stars, that's pretty unique. And he's still alive. He's somewhere. He's at somebody's, maybe his own house, still living independently or in a nursing home somewhere. Maybe in another life I got to sit down with him and ask him all the questions I'm dying to know. Who knows? So that was Mango. Mango in the Morgue. Episode 1. Mango didn't make it past the second conspiracy. She kept trying to eat my legs, but I think she felt Marilyn's presence in her dreams. Just a little bit, maybe. Tell me in the comments, do you think she took her own life? Do you think Marilyn did it? So hit like, hit subscribe, hug your dog or cat. Maybe you have a fish. I don't know. I don't know your life. But remember, sometimes the most glamorous deaths hide the ugliest truths. And let me know what other mysterious celebrity deaths, conspiracies, mainly death conspiracies, that you also want to talk more about next time. For the month of October, I want to do more death conspiracies because I find them interesting and I love talking about them. And if you do too, then you're in the right spot. And hopefully you didn't fall asleep during this video. Okay, anyways, love you. Bye-bye.